Illicit drug trafficking and consumption have assumed a frightening dimension, a daring monster that the nation continues to contend with. Nigerians have seen dreams get thwarted, families disrupted, and society suffers the consequences of drug abuse, especially when promising young minds decide to take this horrible path. For some others, it is a big business venture in getting quick money. Now, the effect is manifested in actions of users and their loved ones and transcends to communities. Indeed, drug trafficking and abuse is one battle that must be stemmed. Even though the traffickers are becoming more daring as peddlers devise new means to penetrate the populace. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency and all the law enforcement agencies are doing their part to tackle this menace by bringing in new ideas and strategies in the fight against drug abuse and trafficking. However, experts are calling for collaborative efforts if the war against drug abuse and trafficking must be won. Nigeria is said to be a transit nation due to her strategic geographical location and expansive porous land borders, which makes it possible and easy for the conveyance of illicit drugs from source countries to consuming nations. But as the NDLEA continues to nab these drug syndicates and making arrests, with weekly statistics being reeled out, what policy changes or reforms are needed to strengthen Nigeria's response to drug abuse and trafficking? On Weekend File tonight, we're looking at illicit drug abuse and trafficking in Nigeria. And our guest is Bashir Ibrahim, Deputy Director, Drug Demand Reduction, NDLEA. We'll bring you situation reports, of course, from across the country. Thank you for joining us. This is Weekend File. I'm Ruth Aguilera. First, let's bring you the news. President Bola Tinubu has renewed his administration's commitment towards supporting sectors that will enhance his goal of empowering the youth and ensure overall growth of the country. The president stated this during a meeting with the leadership of Flutterwave, a fintech company. State House correspondent Musbahuddin Wahab reports.
President Bola Tinubu makes an unusual appearance in his office this Saturday. It is for a course with potential to enhance his administration's developmental plan for youth empowerment and economic advancements. Fintech. This is what Flutterwave, an African fintech company from Nigeria, creating platform for digital and cross-border payments, says he has been doing for about a decade on the continent.
We have built a system that has made it easy for Nigerians to pay for Uber, Netflix in Naira here in Nigeria. We've got to attract global merchants to come to Nigeria and localize their payments now in Nigeria. In the last couple of years as well, sir, we launched a remittance platform, which is that how do we help Nigerians, even in diaspora, sir, to send money back home to Nigeria and help us to generate foreign currency in Nigeria today.
And apparently convinced by the current administration's commitments toward boosting investments in the country, the company, as it seeks collaboration of the governments, expresses readiness to expand its scope and create more opportunities for Nigerians.
Why can't we create liquidity for Nigerians in Nigeria? And we think that should happen at this time. What will we build with your support, sir? We will show that indeed Nigeria can build global companies that will scale and ensure that Nigeria really is ready for business.
Our role here really is to drive financial and strategic positioning of Nigeria's influence by promoting the country's economic sovereignty and its economic supremacy.
As Mr. President, we would also be interested in Nigeria investing and benefiting from your deep involvement in growing the economy, digitizing the economy, helping to diversify it, and most important of all, upskilling our young people, our teeming population, which is going to actually be the workforce of the world in future.
We believe that as part of our dominance, economic dominance within the continent, we need to begin to spend money, our own money, in the country. And I would also suggest that if we're going to take a position in there, we should insist that the hosting, part of that revenue should stay in Nigeria by them having that service being hosted in Nigeria, Your Excellency.
President Bola Tinubu has from the outset been assuring of his administration's readiness in removing hindrances on the way of doing good businesses in the country. And here, he finds this company a potential right partner in his plan to open up investment opportunities for a greater economy.
Leadership that you are providing in the digital world is what Nigeria needs today to grow its economy, to identify its population, to make life easy for thousands and millions of people. And if they ride well on your platform and you create all those branches and, little yokes, you definitely make a great Nigeria possible.
The company is to work out areas of collaboration with relevant government agencies in the coming days. From the State House, Musbah and Wahab, NT News.
7 students have been awarded fully funded scholarships worth more than $30,000 to study at the African Leadership College of Higher Education in Mauritius, courtesy of the ALX Pathway Program, which is designed for students who enroll in the 8-month course to access international scholarship opportunities worth over $85,000. Joel Popola reports that this announcement is the first batch in the series of more scholarships expected to be announced in days to come.
The ALX Pathway Program has carved a niche for itself as a guaranteed launchpad to global recognition and international scholarship opportunities. The announcement of the names of these scholarship recipients by the country general manager, Ruby Igwe, is a dream come true as it heralds endless possibilities for them. The beneficiaries, who are still basking in the euphoria of their achievements, describe the quality of training and exposure they have gained through the ALX Pathway Program as second to none.
ALX, I would say for me, ALX is the pathway to success. ALX is the first institution I have been to that I have been able to have a team collaboration, that we work as a team and carry each other along.
ALX gave me the value of having a growth mindset, and that growth mindset actually took me through the program, and with every challenges, every step of various, and moved me to success.
With its presence in 8 countries in Africa, ALX has a series of programs to empower the students with requisite leadership and entrepreneurship skills to put them in the front row in their chosen career paths. And with ALX partnership with 14 internationally recognized universities in Europe, United States, and best tech-savvy universities in Africa, this and many prospects makes ALX the preferred choice.
We have every support necessary available for them to ensure that everyone goes through the program and they excel at whatever it is that you decide to do. But majorly the focus is to get them into global universities and also get them access to the global scholarships that are available too.
Over 300 participants took part in it, and these 7 are the lucky ones. So I give it to ALX, and I believe the future is waiting for them too.
The Pathway Program, apart from being an avenue to an international degree, the management of ALX say guarantees 2 years of work experience before completion of the degree program. In Lagos, Joel Bukwola, NTA News.
Talking politics, the governing All Progressives Congress says the monumental feats achieved by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's renewed hope agenda within the shortest period in office is now wooing more Nigerians into the APC fold. The National Zonal Secretary of the party for North Central, Yakubu Adamu, stated this while receiving a total of 500 defectors from PDP, SDP and Labour Party into the governing party. The zonal leader of the party appreciates the giant strides of President Tinubu and the focused leadership provided by the National Working Committee of the party under the chairmanship of Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje.
This great party that is more than a party for the family forward to winning the forthcoming elections.
Receiving some important people from other parties like PDP and SDP, it is a plus to the party. And that is why we give this occasion a very good attention. Stage 1 to stage 100, by the special grace of God, will be receiving the canpeas.
Other leaders of the party say APC is firmly rooted on the foundation of quality leadership geared towards changing the narrative of the Nigerian economy and giving everyone a sense of belonging as demonstrated by the party at all levels of governance. Party chieftains urged the new entrants to feel free and contribute to the growth and development of the party in all future elections, particularly with the FCT Council election, which comes up next year. Prices of food items in Kano are gradually stabilizing, so we heard, with economists placing the decrease at 35% across major grains and perishable markets in Kano. Well, stakeholders believe that the drop in the prices is bringing relief to both consumers and the traders after a period of rising costs. Awal Salisu will tell us more.
Before now, the rising cost of food items have generated public reactions as the government, on the other hand, is working to stabilize the economy. In recent weeks, however, the food markets in Kano have witnessed a positive development as prices of items and perishables drop to an appreciable level.
But when it comes to food items like spaghetti and flour, it has reduced a little. But things like washing soap, omo, the price has not reduced.
Things are sold 94, but now we sell the case 81.
Prices of the food items, especially the grains in our market, are dropping. Continue dropping, and they will be continued up to the extent where it will stabilize.
What obtains here is also applicable to other markets as prices of perishable items are also stabilizing.
Tomato then they said 8,000, 9,000, some 11,000, 12,000 are in the high.
As the markets begin to regain balance, consumers are optimistic that the decrease will help ease financial pressure on them while fostering a more stable and predictable food supply in Kano and beyond. In Kano, Awal Salisu, NTA News.
The thorny issue of disagreement between the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria and a Saudi-based service provider that threatened successful 2025 Hajj appears to have been resolved. Chairman of the Commission, Professor Abdullahi Salih Usman, and Chairman of the company, Mohammed Hassan, at the Commission signed an amendment to the contractual agreement that raised the earlier dust. Professor Usman assured intending pilgrims of the Commission's readiness to conduct a smooth and hitch-free Hajj exercise with safety and welfare of pilgrims as its utmost priority.
Use this opportunity to assure all intending pilgrims from Nigeria this year that the Commission has not cancelled any contract.
A clause in the 2025 Hajj contract with the service provider had earlier elicited disagreement between the two bodies, with prospective 2025 pilgrims expressing fear about their welfare. Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, warmly congratulates Governor of Niger State, Mohammed Umar Bago, on the occasion of his 51st birthday. In a statement, the minister notes that Governor Bago has demonstrated exceptional leadership, vision, and commitment to the progress of Niger State by driving transformative initiatives that are improving the lives of the people and promoting growth and prosperity. He joins all the well-wishers in praying for Governor Bago's continued good health, wisdom, and strength to steer Niger State towards greater heights. All right, today is actually a sad day in the broadcasting world. Losing one of its finest icon, Professor Tom Adaba. We join our colleague now, Dennis Degunloye, He's at Tom Adaba's residence to, tell us the mood there at this time. Dennis, if you can hear me, made to understand you're with his daughter, Margaret, to be precise. Please tell us the mood.
Yes, hello, Ruth. As one would expect, I'm at the residence of late Professor Tom Adaba, who passed on earlier today. And as you'd expect, the mood is one of a sober, somber reflection. This is a man who obviously touched the lives of so many people, especially in the media space. Under the Babangida government, he was the pioneer Director General of the NBC, and he played a pivotal role in deregulation of the media industry here in Nigeria. And he was also pioneer leader of the TV College Jos, where he earlier acquired a doctorate degree from the Theatre of Arts from the University of Jos. And from the people I've spoken with so far since this happened, he has been described as a media icon who has touched so many lives. He's been an inspiration to so many. And here in the family home, obviously the mood is somber, and clearly it's not really a period of great joy and tribulation, but certainly it's a period of sober reflection of a man who has touched the lives of so many people. And I have joining me to talk more on the life of Professor Adaba is one of his daughters, Margaret, who has some words to say about her late father. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us, and obviously our condolences from the NTA on your loss. Just tell us what impact has he had on your life?
Thank you very much. How do you summarize 83 years in a second? It's difficult, but he was a great man. He was a wonderful father, a wonderful grandfather. He had 16 grandchildren. It's so difficult to refer to him in the past right now. And but that's what life is. And he was a great Christian, a very strong believer in God. He never believed in doing or taking any steps without God. Everything for him was about God. He was also a wonderful husband to our mother. He was a great man, a man of integrity, a man of justice. He believed in justice for people. He never looked down on anyone, regardless of class. Everybody to him was equal. And we'll greatly miss him. We'll miss him so much. It's moving. We'll miss him.
Well, certainly was a life well spent by all accounts, certainly yours. And just tell us in a few moments, what is the lasting legacy you're leaving with you?
Well, the lasting legacy is living a godly life. That's it. He lived a very godly life. Even on his bed, he was praying, right to the time of his end. He was in prayer. So he was a man of God. He believed in God. God was first in everything. And he showed us what real family life should be, where children are happy, children are confident to relate with parents, and that's it.
All right. Thank you very much. Condolences once again. All right. That's the daughter, Margaret, talking on the legacies of her late father. And certainly we expect that from tomorrow, people will be trooping in, sympathizers, to pay tribute to a media icon. It's back to you.
Thank you very much, Dennis. He will be greatly missed, an upright man. My encounter with him, he really left a great mark for me. President Bola Tinubu also extends his heartfelt condolences to Professor Tom Adaba's family, the government and the people of Kogi State over the passing of the first Director General of the National Broadcasting Commission. Professor Adaba, an icon of broadcast industry, passed away this Saturday. He contributed immensely to journalism practice in Nigeria, particularly in the broadcast industry, where he was an inspiration to many within Nigeria's broadcasting cycles and beyond. In a statement by his special advisor on information and strategy, Bayo Onanuga, President Tinubu recognizes Adaba's remarkable achievements as the first principal of the NTA Television College in Jos and prays for the repose of the soul of the deceased. Similarly, Kogi State Governor Ahmed Usman Ododo mourns the passing of the first Director General of the National Broadcasting Commission, Professor Tom Adaba, who died early hours of Saturday at age 83. In a message by his special advisor on media, Ismaila Isa, Governor Ododo expresses grief over the demise of the ex-broadcaster, whom he describes as a leading light for the development in Nigeria, Ibraland and Kogi State, and prays to God to grant the repose for the soul of the departed. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu says late Lieutenant General Jeremiah Hussaini will be remembered for his patriotism and for his efforts in unifying all Nigerians. This was his message at the burial of the former FCT minister and senator in Lantang, Plateau State. Well, Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, Professor Nentawe Yilwatda, represented the president.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, represented by the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, Dr. Nentawe Yilwatda, says the late Lieutenant General Jeremiah Timbut Hussaini has left his footprints both in the military and political scenes, having served diligently in many capacities where he excelled.
He stood for this country and put his life on the line that all of us should live.
This is the beginning of the closure of the chapter of the generals known as the Lantang Mafia, to be able to keep Nigeria one.
Bishop Josiah Idowu of the Anglican Communion, who conducted the funeral service at Kokin Church Lantang, urged Christians to live a life worthy of emulation and also contribute to the growth of humanity in all they do. Family, friends and colleagues say the legacies of General Hussaini will live for generations, considering his good works while on earth. Born on the 16th of February 1943, late Lieutenant General Jeremiah Timbut Hussaini passed away on 23rd of January 2025 and is survived by 3 children, many relations and friends.
Despite a warning from the Nigeria Police Force against conducting local government elections in Osun State over serious security concerns of violence and unrest, voting went ahead across several local government areas in the state. Femi Afariogun reports.
There was voting in some polling units visited in Ede North, Ede South, Egbedore, Oshobo, and along the local government areas of the states, while there was no electoral officials in some polling units. Osun State Governor Senator Ademola Adeleke, who cast his vote at his polling unit in Shagba Abogunde, Unit 9, Ward 2, in Ede North, appealed to people to remain calm.
Because Osun State is a very peaceful, state.
Although there was heavy presence of security operatives at strategic places on major roads, none were seen at the polling units visited. In Osogbo, Femi Afariogun, NTA News.
All right, we'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll start our conversation on illicit drug abuse and trafficking in Nigeria. Please stay tuned. Thank you for staying tuned. And just before we begin the conversation proper, let's take some reports. Of course, you know, drug abuse and trafficking is a menace of monumental consequences. Now, that is one challenge that the nation continues to contend with. Well, in this report, Salwal Khalil Ibrahim reports that though efforts have been top-notch in the fight against substance abuse in Nigeria, traffickers have also become more daring as peddlers devise new means to, penetrate the populace. Let's see that.
The saying, drugs takes you to hell disguised as heaven, makes sense when it took only surgery to expel 81 wraps of cocaine from a businessman's belly.
How many?
7. The most maybe popular one amongst young people, peer pressure.
when people are struggling, when people do not see a way out, when people are overwhelmed, right? And then these drugs are there and they are accessible. And mind you, you don't have to even be rich to access drugs. Sometimes the dealers give it on loan, sometimes give it in exchange for other kind of favors like sexual favors. So it does not require you to have a very fat bank account before you can access them. So yes, sometimes poverty, in fact, can actually be linked to an increase in drug use.
Since January 2021, Nigeria's anti-narcotic body, NDLEA, has been on a journey of reforms. It has so far made more than 52,000 arrests and got 9,000 convictions, including life sentences in 2025.
Cannabis consumption in Nigeria is one of the highest in the world, with 10.6 million Nigerians. From the survey, the last survey in 2018, we discovered that 1 in 7 Nigerians use drugs.
As part of its mandate, the NDLEA began sensitization of the public on the ills of drug trafficking and abuse, with particular attention to schools. The process educated about treatment leading to the rehabilitation of more than 32,000 addicts. Despite these efforts, the use and trade of illicit substances remains unabated, just as the Anti-Narcotic Agency says it remains resolute in its fight against illicit substances in Nigeria. In Abuja, Salwa Khalil Ibrahim, NTA News.
All right, let's bring in our guests. We have with us in the studio Mr. Bashir Ibrahim. He's the Deputy Director, Drug Demand Reduction from the NDLEA. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Ibrahim.
Thank you for having me. Good evening, viewers.
Right. First of all, I'd like to commend the NDLEA for, the successes we've been seeing. Statistics being rolled out weekly, a number of arrests and, syndicates that have been nabbed. But again, it is not yet uhuru, because a report by the agency is saying 14 million people across the country are still addicted in one way or the other. So tell us, how far have we gone?
Thank you very much. When you talk about substance use and trafficking in Nigeria, as we speak, we still make reference to the National House Use Survey, which was conducted by UNODC in 2018, which put Nigeria drug use prevalence rate at 40.3%. What does that tell us? That shows that 1 out of every 7 Nigerians must have used drugs or any other substances within the period the survey was conducted, between the age of 15 and 64. Now, what are those drugs that are commonly abused? Just as the report told us, is cannabis. And why cannabis? Cannabis is cultivated in Nigeria. That shows that it's affordable, it's accessible, you can access it, and to an extent, affordable. So it's going to be the leading drug of abuse in Nigeria, followed by pharmaceutical opioids. We talk about tramadol. Then we talk about diazepam, other prescription drugs, and methamphetamine. And most people try to go into some of these pharmaceutical prescription drugs, either out of health challenge, maybe first prescription by medical personnel, and subsequently decide to take it. Some, out of pleasure, decide to take it. The first time is always a kind of a being pleasurable, which we say move from first time of taking the drug, probably experimental stage, to occasional use, regular use, dependency, and problematic substances, which is the core of problem. And remember, substance use is a brain disease, according to WHO. It's a chronic brain disease, which is characterized by compulsive use of substance despite, the negative consequences. And it's characterized by what we call lapse and relapse. Now, the major issues you ask, why are people going into substance use, which is the question that always coming up. We have what we call risk factors, we have predisposing factors, we have risk factors. Now, what are all those factors? We talk about peer influence, which is one of the leading factors that predispose young ones into substance use. Then we have poor parenting. Then you talk about poor parenting. Now we always talk about we should be practicing what we call purposeful and positive parenting. When you have poor parenting, you will definitely be exposed to substances. Okay. Then you have...
Go ahead.
Okay. You have other risk factors like availability of the substance. Then the social media, which is one of the big factors these days that our youth are being exposed to, and they copy whatever they see on the social media, and it's definitely throw them into substance use. And remember, substance use is dynamic and it's evolving. It keep on changing. There are new psychoactive substances that keep on coming up.
Okay.
Yes. So the essence and what especially the agency is laying emphasis on is prevention in terms of sensitization, awareness, and advocacy.
Okay, we'll get to that part. But specifically, I'd like to know, I know that the agency has adopted dynamic means to counter, dynamic approaches that these organized criminals, devising, especially in the aspect of trafficking. What strategies? And I know one of the master plan that was launched in 2021 for 2020 to 2025, which ends this year, is the drug demand reduction, which falls under your purview. So what is the strategy adopted, to counter this fight?
Thank you. At the government level, you have an interministerial committee which gives rise to National Drug Control Master Plan, which is a strategic document which shows us the roadmap into addressing substance use in terms of drug demand reduction, in terms of supply reduction, harm reduction, chain of drug distribution. So that, and the role of each government at different level, both at the federal government level, at the state government level, and the local government level. This gives rise to what we call State Drug Control Committee. We have that of the local government control committee. Now we are moving into that of the community. So we want community to come together to form that bond that would address substance use in their respective community, in the respective area. The State Drug Control Committee has been very viable in most of the states of the Federation, and that of the local government is still coming up. We still have more to do on that of local government, and recently that of the committee that is coming up. This is one of the strategies that is being used. That's when you talk about a National Drug Control Master Plan. It's a 4-component which is giving us the roadmap on how to address this issue. Equally, the President and Chief Executive Officer of NDLA, Brigadier General Buba Marwa, has another strategic policy which we call WADA, War Against Drug Abuse, which central around sensitization and advocacy. We draft through, take sensitization to schools, workplace, community, workplace, and all spectrum of life. And the essence is for them to be aware, because one of the reasons why people go into substance is ignorance. Many of them don't even know the consequences of what they do. You can equally link that to even trafficking. Most people that are actually into trafficking are ignorant. They don't even know the implication. And when you talk about greed and probably poverty, when somebody is offering you $1,000 that come and take this substance across for me, you definitely going to pay you. And when the person cannot even touch certain amount of money and you're offering such a thing, definitely will definitely take the offer from you. So the essence of the WADA is to actually enlightening citizens and let them know the implication of going into substance use.
Yeah, especially even for, okay, so before I bring up the next question, we'll just take a quick break, then we'll be back. Please stay tuned. Thank you for staying tuned. From Lagos, illicit drug use is still a social menace, well, even across the country, despite all efforts from government at all levels. Well, stakeholders in drug law enforcement and rehabilitation believe mitigating these social ills requires a multifaceted approach. Let's hear from Larry Belay.
Drug use is a public health concern in Nigeria. The trend is that they hide to take pills, puffs, injections, while gulping dangerous substances which get them high, thereby making them walk around aimlessly.
Causes of substance abuse are complex and multifaceted. There's no single cause of substance abuse. We talk about environmental factors. There are some environmental factors that can be responsible for a child's substance use or addiction, such as family, toxic families, families of total negligence, negligent families, toxic families, families that have chaotic relationships, these children that are raised up in such family are prone to substance use.
This is worrisome as the community faces the negative effects ranging from militancy, kidnapping, armed robbery to violent cult gangs, among others.
So you now have most of the youths, most of the younger generations that are now misbehaving, that are not even contributing to the economy as a result of the drug intake. So it is natural for the society to begin to look at how can we curb this.
Some of the drugs mostly used are cannabis, opiates such as heroin, cocaine, amphetamine-type stimulants, and the dealers of these illicit substances are always devising new methods to get their harmful products to their buyers. Drug law enforcers believe tackling this public health issue requires a multi-dimensional approach which involves intervention in stopping the supply through joint security approach, identifying the root cause of its continued usage, involving professional counselors and religious bodies. In Lagos, Lanre Bileyi, NTA News.
All right, Mr. Ibrahim, that's a report from Lagos. And earlier you talked about sensitization, and we know of the war against drug abuse, that's the WADA campaign. But what is the synergy like with other agencies, especially in the aspect of intelligence gathering and all of that?
Okay, thank you very much. Drug trafficking is a trans-border crime. So it's not just the agencies in Nigeria alone. Nigeria has a memorandum of understanding with many countries in terms of sharing intelligence and arresting some of these traffickers wherever they are. And within Nigeria too, we synergize with all the security agencies in terms of the same sharing information, and where they were opportune or maybe intelligence gave them to even make an arrest, they do a kind of a transfer back to the agency for prosecution. We are not just doing that alone, Synergy, but we are at all the exit and entry points of all of Nigeria, both at the border and the air entry, and we have representation in all the states of the federations. So our intelligence-led operation is a kind of giving us an edge over these criminals. And now we are not just going over tracing only the traffickers, but the barons. In the past 3-4 years, over 65 barons that in the past you can hardly even get to them has been arrested, and they are facing prosecution. Some of them has even been jailed already. They are serving their terms. So our effort in terms of supply reduction and cutting the chain of distribution is intelligent-led, and that's actually giving us an edge over the traffickers. Though they are always the kind of designing or coming up with different methods to beat security agencies. But I can confidently say that we are on top of our game.
Okay, what about the aspect of treatment and rehabilitation? If you want to look at the ratio between the drug addicts, that's for those being rescued, and the number of rehabilitation centers, what is it like? Do we have enough in the country?
No. Okay. If you look at the survey that was conducted in 2018, it talks about treatment and rehabilitation too. One thing we should have to know is that treatment is expensive everywhere globally. There's no way about that. Equally, in Africa, what is peculiar to us, including Nigeria, is accessing this treatment and affording the treatment. It's quite expensive and it's not access. We don't have many of them. As we speak, the agency has about 30 counseling and rehabilitation centers where they offer social services, and where there is need for referral, we'll definitely do it. Then we have about 11 neuropsychiatric hospitals that actually take care of treatment and rehabilitation too. And we still have other private treatment centers that we have. But the government facilities are still the ones that are a bit affordable for people that comes there.
But are you working in synergy with NGOs? I know some NGOs run some of these, kind of treatment.
Yes, okay. We are partnering with NGOs, especially those that are involved in substance prevention, treatment, recovery, and care. We are actually partnering with them, and we do a referral, and we try to build their capacity for them to be able to deliver evidence-based prevention strategy so that they will not do harm where the intention is to do good. So the information they pass there is very important too. So in partnering with NGO, we take concern with what they are going to deliver, because they are the ones that are close to the grassroots, and they are everywhere. So we train them, we build their capacity, and we synergize with them in terms of treatment and do what we call a referral, where the agency cannot handle such cases.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Mr. Bashir Ibrahim. He's the Deputy Director, Drug Demand Reduction, NDLEA. We'll continue the campaign on our part here in NTA. At the end, it falls back to family values. As a parent, do you know your children? I'll leave you to ponder on that. Let's take a break.
Show off you.
Thank you for staying tuned. And next, the sports update. Ayo Deji Makinde is set to guide us. Ayo.
Thanks, Ruth. Let's begin by telling you that Nigeria will play Côte d'Ivoire in a two-legged match on February 26 and 28 after Egypt pulled out of the friendly ahead of Africa Under-20 Cup of Nations in April. Team administrator of the seven-time African champion Aliyu Lawal Ibrahim confirmed that the team, which has been in camp in Abuja for weeks after head coach Aliyu Zubairu called up 30 players for the planned games with Egypt's young pharaohs, is expected to depart Abuja for Abidjan on Monday, 24th February. The finals of the tournament is scheduled for Côte d'Ivoire from April 26 to May 18, with 13 teams competing for 4 qualification spots at the FIFA Under-20 Men's World Cup in Chile. Nigeria is drawn in Group B alongside Egypt, South Africa and Morocco. Elsewhere, Nigeria is tipped to host the world for the 2029 Invictus Games after the country overcame the challenge of not having full representation at the 2024 edition, which held in Vancouver, Canada. This month, Team Nigeria, represented by 14 athletes as against 21 initially planned for the games, won 6 medals in rowing, swimming and sitting volleyball. Co-founders of the game, Derek Kobina and Elvin Atsegwasi, notes that after 9 months of preparation, there is a renewed commitment to showcasing the resilience and strength of the competitors. As Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa applauded the resilience of the athletes, reassuring the commitment to the welfare of all personnel in the military. Over 500 athletes competed from 23 countries competed at the Vancouver Games, as the next edition is slated for Birmingham in 2027. Moving on now to the English Premier League, Marco Asensio's brace in the second half was all Aston Villa required to beat Chelsea 2-1 at the Villa Park in the late evening kickoff on Saturday. Arsenal's 15-game unbeaten run in the Premier League came to a halt as West Ham United won by a lone goal at the Emirates. Tottenham secured their first set of 3 successive wins since December 2023, beating Ipswich Town 4-1 at the Portman Road. In the early kickoff, Manchester United bounced back from a 2-goal deficit in the second half to salvage a 2-2 draw with Everton at the Goodison Park. And that's your sports. It's back to Ruth.
Thank you very much, Ayo. And Ayo, something unusual happened today in Abuja. It rained in some parts of the city. Did you see that?
Yeah, I had a bit of the feel, and of course it became humid and the weather dropped a little bit.
I actually perceived it from my end.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's Weekend File. Thank you for your time. I'm Ruth Aguele. Good night.